The Ukrainian Defense Forces continue to methodically destroy Russia's oil infrastructure, which supplies the army of the aggressor country. Recently, footage of a large-scale fire near the oil refinery in Slavyansk-on-Kuban in Krasnodar Krai appeared online. Local residents claim to have seen drones over the city and report the work of Russian air defense. Russian media write that on August the 8th, Krasnodar Krai faced the most massive daytime drone attack. Air raid sirens were announced throughout the region in the morning, after which internet outages began there. The airports of Sochi and Gelendzhik did not accept or release planes. Footage of vacationers being evacuated from Sochi beaches was published online. In addition, due to drone strikes in Sochi, a concert by American rapper Akon was almost disrupted. Due to the threat of a drone attack, an evacuation of the arena where the musician was scheduled to perform was announced. It was reported that after the air raid, concert-goers began to return tickets en masse. Visitors to Akon's concert in Sochi are being evacuated due to the threat of a drone attack. The city is once again sounding a siren. The sky has been closed for the second time in a day, wrote one of the Russian publics. Earlier, at two Rosneft refineries attacked by drones last week, several oil refining units were stopped and repairs will take about a month. We are talking about the Novokubishevsk oil refinery and the Ryazan oil refinery. This has not happened since March. The Novokubishevsk oil refinery suffered damage to the atmospheric column of the primary oil refining unit, AVT-11, capable of producing 18,900 tons per day. The plant still has one more unit, AVT-9, capable of processing 4,700 tons of oil in 24 hours, but the operation of the facility has been completely stopped. The refinery produced 8.3 million tons of oil products per year. In the case of the Ryazan oil refinery, the nature of the damage to the structural elements of the facility and equipment is unknown. The regional authorities of the occupying country reported a fire, smoke, and UAV debris falling on the territory of the facility. The operation of the plant, which is capable of processing 13.5 million tons of oil per year, has been stopped by 50%. Let us recall that the day before, the Ukrainian command confirmed the successful defeat of another oil refinery in Russia. We are talking about the Afipsky oil refinery in Kuban. This refinery processes 6.25 million tons of oil per year, which is more than 2% of all refining in Russia. It was here that the Russian army received fuel for its troops.
The United States and Russia are working toward an agreement to end the war in Ukraine, one that would formalize Russia's control over territory it seized during the invasion, Bloomberg reported on August 8, citing unnamed sources familiar with the discussion. U.S. and Russian officials are negotiating a deal on territorial matters ahead of a potential summit between Presidents Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, which could happen as soon as next week. The U.S. is also seeking approval from Ukraine and its European allies, though the deal remains uncertain. Putin's main condition is that Ukraine surrenders control of its entire eastern Donbass region comprised of Luhansk and Donetsk, as well as Crimea Peninsula, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. This would require Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski to order the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from parts of eastern Luhansk and Donetsk regions still under Kiev's control, effectively giving Russia a victory that its military has not been able to secure since the full-fledged invasion, which has now entered its fourth year. In return, Russia would halt its offensive in the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions along the current front line. As Bloomberg noted, the deal would effectively freeze the war and pave the way for technical peace talks. Bloomberg described such an agreement as a significant win for Vladimir Putin, who has long sought direct talks with the U.S. to negotiate the war's end, bypassing Ukraine and its European supporters. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky could face a situation where he's forced to accept the loss of Ukrainian territory, while Europe fears being left to enforce a ceasefire while Putin strengthens his military forces. The White House, the Kremlin, and Kiev have not responded to Bloomberg's request to comment on the agreement. The agreement is primarily intended to halt the conflict and set the stage for a ceasefire and technical discussions on a final peace deal, Bloomberg quoted sources. Previously, the U.S. had been urging Russia to accept an unconditional ceasefire first, to allow room for negotiations aimed at ending the bloodshed. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. is playing a crucial role helping to bring an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. On Wednesday, speaking on Fox Business's Kudlow, Rubio said that for the first time since the Trump administration took office, we have some concrete examples of the kinds of things that Russia would ask for in order to end the war. The comments come following a meeting between Kirill Dmitriev, the head of Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff earlier Wednesday. Dmitriev said a Trump-Putin meeting would allow Moscow to clearly convey its position, and he hoped a summit would include discussions on mutually beneficial economic issues, including joint investments in areas such as rare earth elements. Today was a good day, but we got a lot of work ahead. There's still many impediments to overcome, and we hope to do that over the next few days and hours, Rubio said. The announcement comes on the eve of a White House deadline for Moscow to show progress toward ending the three-year-old war in Ukraine. A meeting would be a significant milestone in Trump's effort to end the war, although there's no guarantee that such a summit would stop the fighting since Moscow and Kiev remain far apart on their conditions for peace. Putin's foreign affairs advisor Yuri Ushakov said a summit could possibly take place next week. The meeting would be the first U.S.-Russia summit since 2021, when former President Joe Biden met Putin in Geneva. It would be a significant milestone toward Trump's effort to end the war, although there's no guarantee it would stop the fighting since Moscow and Kiev remain far apart on their conditions for peace.
No, I've always believed, I've always said this, that I think for the deal, if there's going to be a deal to end this war, it'll have to require the president to come in at the end and close on it, as I've seen him do numerous times now on trade deals as an example. So we got to get close enough to that point so that a meeting like that will be productive and worth doing. Today was a good day, but we got a lot of work ahead. There's still many impediments to overcome, and we hope to do that over the next few days and hours. What I can say is everybody wants the war to end. I think the conditions under which it's supposed to end that's always the hard part in this. But today was a good day, but there's a lot of work I don't want to exaggerate. We still have a ways to go here, but we certainly are closer today than we were yesterday, where we weren't close at all. But I think for the first time, perhaps since this administration began, we have some concrete examples of the kinds of things that Russia would ask for in order to end the war. We haven't had much of that to this point. Obviously, the Ukrainians have a say in this. We got to bring the two sides and the two positions close enough so that the ultimate closer, President Trump, can get involved and make it happen. This is important in the sense that we think what happened was good because we have a sense now of what conditions the Russians would require in order to end the war. Now, they may not be the conditions Ukraine can accept or, frankly, that others would accept, but at least we have something to work off of. So I think a lot of that is going to depend now on how close can we bring the two sides to each other? Can we make enough progress? Can we get 85% of the way there, 75% of the way there? Because I don't think you can have a leaders level meeting if you're not close enough, because then nothing's going to come of that meeting. We want to get it close enough, and then we want to give the president the opportunity to come in and close it. So I can't prejudge how long that could take. It could take hours. It could take days. Frankly, it could take weeks. We don't know. But we're going to try here. We're working.